Okay, this is at worksheet 18.5, and we're going to look at a few questions asking us to write an inverse equation for the function. There's different ways you can do this. One way of doing it is first to make a list for the original equation of the steps that are occurring in this function. We have to keep in mind order of operations, so I'm going to write that down here as a reminder. So in this equation, the first operation that's occurring is multiplication by 2/3. The second operation that's occurring is subtracting 2. So to figure out what the inverse function looks like, I'm going to make a separate list, which the goal here is to undo the operations that we have here, but we're going to go in the opposite order. We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to undo subtracting 2, which is a plus 2. And we're going to undo multiplying by 2/3, which is the same as dividing by 2/3. Here, rather than dividing by a fraction, I'm also going to rewrite this as multiplication by the reciprocal. So let's use this step instead of the division step. So if I want to write my inverse function, I'm going to follow the inverse steps. So this notation means inverse function of f equals, first I need to add 2 to x, and then this entire expression needs to be multiplied by 3/2. And it's up to you whether you want to distribute that or leave it like this. Alright, let's go to number 11. Here we'll do the same thing, make a table listing the steps that are occurring in the original function. If we look at this, we need to look inside the square root sign. You could think of the square root sign similar to how we think of parentheses. So inside the square root, here I'm going to first have a multiplied by 2, then a subtraction of 3, and then the last step is that the entire thing is being square rooted. So to write the inverse of that function, I'm going to start at the bottom and undo each of these operations. So the operation that undoes the square root is squared. To undo minus 3, I'm going to add 3. And then up here to undo multiplied by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. So following this inverse list, I'm going to write my inverse function. First, I'm going to do x squared. I'm going to add 3 to that and divide the entire expression here by 2. Alright, let's look at number 12. Here, if we look at order of operations in the original function, exponents come before multiplication. So I'm going to show that the cubed comes first, followed by the multiplied by 10. And then our inverse operation needs to be what undoes multiplied by 10, so that would be divided by 10. And to undo something to the third power, we need to cube root it. So in my inverse function, my first operation is divided by 10. And then I'm taking the cube root of that entire expression.